What's going on there, guys? My name is Matt, or Chewy, and most of you will know me as. And in today's Thrustmaster sponsored video, I'm going to be talking about my first impressions after about a month or so's use of the new TCA, that's Thrustmaster Civil Aviation Boeing licensed yoke. Pre-orders are now available for that product, but I'll talk more about that a little bit later. In the background footage here, we have an arrival that I flew on my live stream into Santiago in Chile. We're doing an approach for runway 17 right. And as you can see, we've got two cameras set up. So on the left-hand side camera, you can actually see the yoke, and you can also see the throttle quadrant. Now, it's not just one throttle quadrant there. I've actually got two placed next to each other, and you can connect them together, which is really cool, so that they stay stable together. And that would give me an authentic Boeing 747 feel, as you may have seen in my last video on this product. On the right hand side camera, you've just got more of an over the shoulder kind of view so that you can get a better look at how things are with my movements of the yoke itself. So that's just playing in the background for you all whilst I talk about, as I say, my first impressions. For the first week after I received this product, I actually wasn't able to use it because I was away at a charity event called World Flight, where a group of us raise money flying a full 747 home kind of cockpit flight deck for a week, as I say, raising money for charity. And so we base our simulator off of a Boeing 747-400, which was really great because it meant that I could come home from that event and have a really good comparison point to what a realistic 747 yoke would feel like. And that just gives me an opportunity to be able to get a good base point and, as I say, compare the two. Now, obviously, the price points are very different between a real-world yoke and something like the Thrustmaster product, but I just wanted to kind of see if I could translate some of the motions and I guess some of the muscle memory that I was already building up from using the real-world yoke into the home simulator. And as an early spoiler report, I definitely was able to do that. So one thing that I want to talk about with this yoke, first of all, which you're going to hear, I think a lot of content creators kind of bang on about quite a lot, but is also very important to talk about, is this Pendulum System, which is what makes the Boeing TCA yoke stand out against other yokes. Now, that's not me saying that this yoke is better than other yokes that are on the market. We're very lucky in the flight simulation industry that there are so many yokes to choose from, but this is what specifically really makes this yoke different than others. It's got that realistic column that comes down from the back of the yoke and goes into the base of the unit, whilst a lot of the other yokes that are on the market, I think in fact every other yoke that are on the market, have got some sort of a rod that comes out of the back of the yoke, and that is more akin to, I guess, a kind of general aviation style aircraft feel, whilst this is more akin to what you would see in Boeing aircraft. However, you don't just have to use this Boeing yoke, obviously, with Boeing aircraft in the simulator. I've flown the Dash 8 Q400 from FlyJSim with this, and I've also flown the Inibuild's Beluga, which is an Airbus, and that does have a yoke control system, a column system, just like the Boeing aircraft as well, which is a bit weird to fly. And so you can use this system with a variety of different aircraft, and I'm sure I'll do some videos on that in the future if you would like to see it, and it's been featured on my live stream a lot. So, talking about those comparisons, what do I feel between the two? Well, it was absolutely phenomenal to me just how well my, as I said, the slight muscle memory and just the general feel of that real 747 yoke that I'd been flying on for the past week was able to translate into this product. Straight away, I felt like I had a good grasp of it, and it just made things feel so much more realistic for me for flying this type of aircraft. For the past few years now, I've solely been using side sticks and joysticks no matter what type of aircraft that I'm flying in my home simulator. And although this has done me absolutely fine and been really great fun, there wasn't that sense of immersion that you get when you're flying, you know, the correct type of flight controls for the aircraft that you're flying in. I, at first, I'll be honest with you, didn't think it would make that much of a difference to my performance, as in whether I'm landing the aircraft well, how much more, as I say, immersive it feels doing the takeoff roll and things like that. But it really actually does make way more of a difference than I thought it would do. And that's something that caught me a little off guard, but also made me feel like I was performing better than I have done. I don't know whether that was a placebo effect, but I certainly find my landings in this Boeing aircraft, or all the simulators that I'm flying in so far, to be more, I guess, realistic and in a sense a little bit easier, because I kind of know what to expect from it a little bit better than I would do with a joystick. It's very difficult to try and verbally describe that to you without you all feeling it yourself, but that's the best attempt that I can do at describing how it feels to be using this in the correct aircraft type. It's certainly something that caught me off guard, and I wasn't expecting it to make that much of a difference to my simulation levels. That being said, it is certainly a different feeling to what you're used to if you've never flown with a Yoke before, and it's certainly a very different feeling if you've flown with other types of Yoke before. I think there's maybe some misconception in the flight simulation community that this product will feel the same as some of the other Yokes on the market because it's got the same kind of, design. It's a Yoke at the end of the day. How different can they be from one another? I can assure you, from having used a plethora of different Yokes over my time in the flight simulation world, ranging right back to 2008, the first time I used the old Cytec Yoke, it was back in the day then, this feels dramatically different. It really does. It's great to have that feeling of something realistically placed kind of in between your legs, as is the real world Yoke, obviously, for these types of aircraft. And you can kind of feel it in the exact position. Your arm is in the correct position, and you'll see that when I disconnect the autopilot shortly in the video. Actually, I think I have just disconnected the autopilot in the video there. You'll see that my arm is in the position that you would kind of expect it to be. It's down by my side at kind of like a 90-degree angle. I actually have my Yoke mounted underneath my desk. Obviously, the TCA Yoke does have a desk clamp included in it so that you guys can clamp it to your desk. The only reason why I have mine on a stand and placed underneath my desk is because the design of my desk, there's a section of wood and then a section of metal bar underneath it, and so this means that 99% of clamps for racing wheels, for Yokes, for anything doesn't clamp onto my desk. So that's not an issue with the TCA Yoke that it won't clamp. It's actually just my desk. It's a design fault when I was making my desk that I didn't think to leave that a little bit thinner when I was creating this custom desk that I've got. However, I fixed it onto a racing stand and just clamped it onto there. And that's another thing that's really important with this Yoke that I should mention right away now. I feel zero movement in it when it's clamped properly. And that's a big part of it that I think a lot of people are worried about, whether if you're going to be starting to do aggressive movements with this, product, is it going to be moving all over the place? No, the clamp is really, really sturdy. There's 2 clamping points, so it just ensures that you have got plenty of room to be able to make sure that this product doesn't move, basically, which is the most important thing, again, for that authentic feel. So here we are in the flare of the aircraft. You can see I was just kind of holding. I didn't really need to do a whole lot with the Yoke there. Putting forward pressure on the Yoke now to make sure that there's no kind of weird movement with the nose wheel, but I didn't really need to do a whole lot. You can also see me here moving the throttle levers forward on that left-hand camera there. And that's because with P3D, you can't actually assign a reverse axis to get more than, to have a range between reverse idle and partial reverse and then full reverse. And so with some clever trickery with the software FSUI PC and a .lua plugin, I've been able to create a reverser axis so that all I need to do to engage reverse thrust in the prepared simulator is pull the reverse toggles that you can see on the front of the throttle quadrant, and then move the throttles forward, and that will give me that range, as I say, from idle to partial to full reverse there. I can definitely do a video giving you guys an explanation and maybe a little tutorial on how I set that up, because it is a little bit confusing just reading the posts on forums, but it certainly is possible. And for those of you in X-Plane, you'll be happy enough to know that this is just something by default and you don't have to worry about weird Lua plugins to get that assigned. It works absolutely fine. So onto the throttle quadrant. I've really been enjoying using that, again, for that reason where I can use the reverse axis. We've got the buttons on either side of the throttles to be able to select toga or to be able to have the auto throttle disconnect. I've got the speed brake lever on the far left hand side, and then closest to that camera that you can see on the left, we've got the flap lever as well as all of the buttons. And to be honest with you, I've not been utilizing this product as much as I could have done so far. There's buttons on the throttle quadrant that you can bind, and if you put two of the throttle quadrants together, obviously you get double the buttons from just the 5 that are selected on there. You've also got the heading, the indicated speed, and the altitude selector knob as well. So it really just adds to that immersion level. I'm going to be using that word a lot, I know, but it's one of those things that I cannot underestimate in this. And I think that's what this product is really going to provide for a lot of you who are debating getting it. It's going to make your flying for this type of aircraft that much more immersive, because it's going to allow you the opportunity to feel what it's really like to use the correct type of hardware just from your home simulator, which makes all the difference when you're at home. Obviously, not everybody, like my friend Gary and the SimFest team, can afford to have their own 747 home cockpit simulator in their garage. And so for a lot of people, myself included, this is the closest we're going to be able to come to have some realistic hardware to be able to use. And that's what this product is going to be able to provide for you all. So do I think you should get this product? Well, I know a lot of people are going to think that I'm just going to say yes to this because of my sponsorship with Thrustmaster, but I'd like to think a lot of you in my community would know by now that I've always been very honest with you all about what I think about products, both the positives and the negatives. This product isn't going to be for everybody. If you've already got a Yoke, you might not necessarily need to pick up a second one unless you're really, dedicated to something. Also, this product, there's no doubt, isn't the cheapest that Thrustmaster have ever produced. And so I know that there are some concerns in the community about the price point for this. However, the way that I see it with the price point is that it's going to be worth it for you if you're going to get the most amount of usage out of it, right? That goes for any sort of software and hardware that you purchase. The more that you use it and utilize it whenever you simulate or do anything with it, the more it's going to be worth the money that you pay for it. And so if you see yourself regularly using this, if you are a Boeing addict or you're a flight sim addict who uses aircraft with yokes in all the time and you do it multiple times a week, well, then it's definitely going to be worth it for you because you're going to be using it so often. And as I say, it really does make that difference into you feeling like you're flying the aircraft that much more realistically. So that's my thoughts on the product just after a month. I'm really stoked that I've got it in my setup now. I'm really, really happy to be back using a Yoke system, and after my sponsorship with Thrustmaster for the past year and a half or so now, I've not been able to use a Yoke piece of hardware for a long time. And so to be able to have one that I can just pull out, easily set up, get plugged in within a matter of minutes and get set up right away, and as I say, feel that much more immersed, it's a huge difference maker for me. So I'm really stoked for this product. I'll leave information down in the description below about all of that pricing, obviously the pre-order links as well, and some information about timings on when things are planning to be released. So there we go, folks. I hope you enjoyed this video. Really appreciate you all being here. I've done it a little bit differently for this video by doing more of a live commentary instead of a scripted commentary. So let me know whether you prefer me to have a scripted commentary on these kind of videos in the comment section, or whether you're quite happy for me to just free wing it as I have done so today and talk with more of a live commentary feel. As again, I say, really appreciate you all watching. Make sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, subscribe to the channel, and please leave a comment letting me know what you think about the new Thrustmaster TCA Boeing licensed Yoke. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching.